Tonya McGrath, executive producer and host of the PowerPLAY Show. All month, I'm celebrating women in a series empowering women. From entrepreneurs to artists to authors, the power of women is something to be celebrated, and I'm so excited to bring you some incredible women this month. So stay tuned and join me as we lift up our women all month long in our series, Empowering Women, each Thursday on the PowerPLAY Show at thepowerplayshow.com.
From the studios at Hull Bay Productions, this is the PowerPLAY.
Welcome to our special series, Empowering Women on the PowerPLAY Show. I'm your host, Tonya McGrath. My next guest in this series specializes in a craft near and dear to my heart. Lisa Olivieri worked in the television industry in a number of roles, including associate producer for over 15 years. She has also worked with a number of independent filmmakers on various documentaries. Her work has aired on Discovery Channel, History Channel, Lifetime Network, and PBS. She was named one of the, quote, men and women who make a difference by Boston Spirit magazine for her work on Blindsided. Blindsided is her film. It's an hour-long documentary narrative of Patricia Livingstone, a deaf-blind lesbian artist facing a number of unimaginable losses and historic gains. The film weaves intimate, real-time scenes shot over the course of 8 years with home videos and photographs to relay the story of a woman whose spark did not fade even in the face of great hardship and loss.
Growing up deaf and blind was ironic because I found comfort in music and painting. I could see the brick because of the dark colors, and I see the light here. I met Karen in 1986. I thought she was fascinating, and she wore lipstick, and she was blonde, you know.
Patricia was interesting. She was very beautiful, very sweet. I remember it being a very intoxicating, exciting time.
It was very romantic, wasn't it?
I would say romantic.
Sometimes it was bad, like if we would have a physical fight, she couldn't see what I was doing, and so she couldn't defend herself.
Please.
If you love yourself and care about yourself enough and have a little respect for yourself, you would know to step back and say, you know, that.
Lisa is now working on her latest project, Recovery City, an intimate, unflinching portrait of 4 bold women who refuse to let themselves or their community give in to the stigma and despair of addiction. I'm happy to introduce my friend and filmmaker, Lisa Olivieri. Lisa, welcome to the PowerPLAY.
Thank you, and thank you for having me on. This is so exciting.
I'm excited that you're here because we have so much in common. So this is going to be a great conversation.
Yes.
Just give our audience a little bit more about who you are and kind of what got you into this field.
Okay, who am I? Well, I'm a filmmaker. I'm a teacher. I teach video and photography at a high school. And what got me into it, I went to school for journalism. And then when I graduated, I started getting interested in documentaries. So I went to Emerson for grad school for television production, and then just started to work. And I love the medium. I know it's like, everyone says that, like I love documentaries, but I literally love all kinds of different styles. And there's so many ways to tell a story. And we're about the same age. So you remember, do you remember when documentaries were only on Channel 2?
Yes.
That was it.
Yes. I remember when there was only Channel 2 to watch.
Yeah, right. And now Netflix, HBO, Showtime have it's under one of the genres as a choice, which is so exciting to me. And that's basically it. So.
Yeah, the difference between, and you and I crossed paths in television for a few years.
Yep.
Television is it's kind of like, I call it like instant noodles. You get everything done. It happens in one day, go home, you start the next day, brand new thing. documentary, it's like you're making the pasta, then you got to wait for the pasta, then you got to make the sauce, and you got to do, you know what I mean? So
That's a good analogy.
it's so much, you have to really appreciate the patience it takes to do documentary work. And you've been in both mediums, and so you know, is it fair to say that you enjoy making the pasta?
I enjoy making the pasta, yeah. And I mean, it was 5 years for me between Blindsided and Recovery City. Like, I didn't have, like, if someone had a gun to my head, I didn't have an idea. And I just didn't until I did, which took 5 years. So, and that part of it, like, once I started thinking about doing the film about addiction, you know, when you go down the rabbit hole, you have like the idea, I'm going to do this. And then you start researching. It's like, oh, well, it could be this too, or it could be that. And you start like shaping it. Like, that part is really fun for me. And getting to, you know who I'm going to start filming and know that I'm sort of on like a couple year journey with them, is fun, and it's exciting. So it's been like 2 years, I think. 2 years in April that I've been working on this.
I think people really have to appreciate also the aspect of really building relationships with the people that you are, you know, portraying in your documentaries. What's your process in doing stuff like that? Well,
when I started talking to different women who I wanted to be in the film, you know, the women I'm filming are in recovery, and a lot of the women have had trauma. Not all of them, but some of them. And you really have to just be very respectful, because one of the things they're giving you is their story. And that's a very vulnerable position to be in, to talk about things that are hard or that are traumatic, that have shaped you. And then you're trusting somebody to, you know, film you over a period of years. You don't see a frame of the footage. And I would think that's a vulnerable position to be in. I mean, I feel vulnerable right now just talking to you, like, just, you know, like on a spotlight, but
right.
So, you know, being patient and being kind, and just like, it's not like about me, it's about their story and me telling it the way that serves them the best. Like, I always want to honor their story and tell it in a way that's, you know, you're condensing somebody's life too, like,
right.
But you have to be true to the spirit of who they are. So that's what I always want to do.
And just full disclosure, Lisa is helping me in the development of a film that I've been thinking about doing for about a year now. So, you know, it's just the time it really takes. And I know for Blindsided, you spent what, 15 years?
Yeah, because the story changed. So
tell us a little bit about, a little bit more about what the film is, and then talk about how, you know, how that process was over 15 years.
So, oh my God, I know, I hate even saying that. It's so embarrassing. So a friend had told me about Patricia. It was like, there's this woman, she's losing her sight, she's losing her hearing, and she's paints, and she's trying to do a film, and she does music, and she's very artistic. And she lived near me. So I called her and we started chatting, and I was, you know, the thing that struck me was, you know, she has Usher syndrome, which is a combination of retinitis pigmentosa and hearing loss. So you can see, you're born seeing, and then it goes in, and then you're just like tunnel vision. And then she had a hearing aid, you know, to supplement her hearing. So all I could think of when I started filming was, how is this woman gonna finish these paintings and do all this visual stuff when you don't know when your sight is gonna go? And so I was planning on following her while she finished various projects. And the film just like was just not jiving. Do you know what I mean? So I found out years later about the domestic abuse between her and her partner. And I just went back and I spoke to it, like, I think this needs to be in. And it wasn't my intention to do a film about domestic violence, but it explained a lot of her personality. Personality meaning someone who's been abused and never dealt with it. Do you know what I mean?
Right, absolutely.
Yeah. So she agreed to do it, to talk about it. And then the woman she was involved with agreed to be interviewed about it. Because if the woman said no, Karen, if she had said, no, I don't want to talk about it, I was not going to do the film. Because it just wasn't taken off. Yeah. But she did. And that was really kind of her to do that.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah,
don't you think?
I saw it, and I think it really you kind of get involved in Patricia's life, and then you see this part coming, and you then begin to realize and understand so much about her. And I think that's what we were talking about with the process, because you can go in thinking that it's one thing, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, wait a second, there's this, what's behind door number 3? Let's open that up.
Mm-hmm.
What that is.
Yep.
And that's really why it takes time. To say whether it takes 2 or 15 years, it really is just kind of where the story takes you and how long to get it out.
It 100%. And it's also like, it's like when you have a child, you're on their schedule, they're not on your schedule. So you just kind of have to go with it. So that's what I did. And, Karen said, whatever Patricia needs to do to heal herself. And I thought that was pretty gracious of her. I really did. Because she didn't have to do that at all. And especially since it was a long time after they had broken up. To revisit that is painful.
Right.
So.
Yeah. As an independent filmmaker, how do you find resources to make your films? I know that that's going to be a question that people have. I know it's a struggle, particularly in a pandemic where resources are even slimmer than they are, and the competition is as great. How do you find resources for the films that you make?
Well, I own my own equipment, so that's helps. I shoot my own stuff and do my own sound. So that's a huge chunk of money, right? So basically I try to just raise enough to pay my editors. And if I get paid after, that's terrific. But so I got a grant from the Left Foundation. I got a pre-production grant, and I have a few grants waiting. But the good thing is that I don't have to wait for the grants to work, because I can shoot. And then if I can't pay my editor, then the footage will sit there. But it's not like it doesn't stop me really from working. It hasn't yet. It's only my second film, so it might in the future, but so far I can just keep going.
Yeah, you and I are alike that way, because I have my own equipment, and as you know, I'm an editor, and so it does make a huge difference.
It really does.
The first film that my husband and I did, we relied on a videographer. I did the editing and the directing of it, but those costs go up quickly. Like thousands of dollars, and I'm like,
they do.
Geez. And and having to rely on a lot of pictures and slow zooms in on pictures to help alleviate some of those costs. But those are just some of the tricks, I guess, that you learn along the way. Talk to us about your current project, Recovery City, which I just think it is just brilliantly raw. And that I've had my issues with addiction as well. So I really kind of just honed in on this story, particularly the story of Christine. But talk to us about how you came across this film.
So after Blindsided, I had that 5-year of nothing gap, no ideas. And I've always been interested in addiction. And I would always sort of research, and kind of not really get anywhere. Like nothing was tripping my trigger. And then the opiate crisis hit, and I started getting interested in that. And I think everybody knows somebody who's passed from an opiate addiction, right? So, and I've always been interested in like foster care issues and, whose child is it? Do you know, that type of thing? And
Yep.
I read this book called Till the End of June. I think that's the title. And it was sort of done in like a case study way. And a lot of the kids who were interviewed for the book who were foster kids just wanted to be with their parents, like good, bad, or ugly or indifferent. Like they wanted to be with their biological parent, regardless of the addiction issues that their parent might have been having. Not all, but a good portion. So I thought, well, how could I do something with both? Like maybe it's a woman. So in my head, it was a woman who was struggling to get clean from heroin and was trying to get her kids back. Like you just start like kind of fantasizing who your subjects are going to be. And I met Christine, and she does not have an opiate addiction. Her drug of choice was alcohol, and she was sober when I met her. And that kind of like, it's just like when you start doing a film, you only know what you know. And then when you learn from other people, you're like, oh, what about that? So she was trying to get her 4 children back. And she had been sober for 2 years when I met her. And so I thought, well, what does sobriety look like? Because, we hear so much about it and about addiction and, just get sober. But yes, that's terrific, but everything isn't magically fixed when you stop, because it's not. And especially if you're a woman, if you're a woman of color, if you're a woman on a lower socioeconomic level, and then you combine like a few of those things together, and it's harder. Women are, and then the thing that really opened my eyes was the stigma, because women are the caretakers, right? You're the mother. So you're supposed to be the best thing ever, because and people judge mothers, right?
Yes.
Like when you see a kid who's messed up, haven't we all one time been like, where's his mother? Right? Where's her mother? What was her mother doing? So,
it's true.
It's true.
Absolutely true. Yeah.
So you can't like, sometimes as a woman with addiction and then trying to parent, like you can't win for trying. So Christine's case was very interesting to me. So when I met her, she just had this quiet old soul way about her, very calm. Nothing really rattled her. And that was interesting to me. And the fact that she had 4 children, and 3 of them she had to visit every other week in a supervised setting with people watching her, even though she was sober, but she had her son unsupervised every other weekend. I was like, wait, what? There's got to be something amiss here. Yeah. So I remember I would be thinking about it, and I would call her and I'd be like, remember when you told me, like trying to like confirm, like maybe I heard it wrong, and it's just unfortunately a story that happens a lot. There was nothing she could do. Like she would do what was on her service plan from DCF, and then it would be a bunch of other things. Well, you might need another parenting class, but I already took that parenting class. Well, she's sober. She gives a urine test every week for the past now 4 years. She goes to therapy. She works full time. She has a car. She has an apartment. She's in the community, a respected member of the community, in the recovery community. She volunteers. Like, then it would say, you just need to work on yourself a little more. Well, what does that mean? Like, I need a manicure or I need a nap? Like, that's a very broad, unclear statement.
It is.
And then that's so I started following her, and because it's a crazy story, and unfortunately it's a common story.
We have a few clips that you have agreed to let us show from your documentary. Yes. And the first one is about Christine and her son, Hunter. So set this clip up for us.
Oh, that boy. Oh, he's so cute. So I was filming when she had Hunter, and Hunter's in a guardianship. Hunter lives with his grandmother. So I can film Hunter. So he was going to be there for the weekend, and they had built a fort in the living room. It was her, the dog, Hunter, the cat, and she was doing some work, and she just started playing Truth or Dare, and it's hilarious, and I love it. It's one of my favorite scenes.
Truth or Dare.
Truth or Dare? Mm-hmm. I'm no good at Truth or Dare. Okay. Truth. Every time.
I didn't say that you like Miles.
Mr. Miles? I love Mr. Miles so much.
Truth or Dare?
Truth.
No. You gotta do Dare at least one time.
Maybe I don't want to do
Truth
your
or
dares.
Dare? Okay. Truth or Dare me?
Truth or Dare?
Dare.
I dare you to let me tickle you for 10 seconds.
Fine.
Fine? Okay. Ready?
Yep. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
That was a good one.
No. Truth or Dare? Truth or Dare?
Me?
Yeah. Truth or Dare?
Dare.
I dare you. So you can do that challenge when I put something weird on the spoon and I put it in your mouth.
Okay, we're totally doing this.
We're doing it.
We're doing it.
We're doing it.
Ready?
Where's your spoons?
A little one, or I don't want to play. You can't do anything too gross, and I need a blindfold. I got it. All right, ready? Mm-hmm. Okay.
Close your eyes in the blindfold, okay?
Yes.
Check if you can see through it, can you?
No.
So close your eyes in the blindfold just in case you're lying.
You're killing me.
Ooh.
I'm really scared.
Oh my god.
The suspense is more terrifying than anything else.
You have to do it. This is gonna be pretty gross.
I'm terrified.
Don't be too scared. You ready? 3, 2, 1. Open your mouth.
Can I smell it first?
No.
I want to smell it.
It just dripped on you. Go.
I don't care. What is it?
It's ranch.
Oh, a mouthful, wow.
It's very clear to me from this scene that, some of the issues that you talked about, Christine, and the challenges that she's having trying to, regain her responsibility as a mom. I wonder how much that is predicated on her looks and, her physical, she's got the tattoos, she's got the piercings, and we can be very, very judgmental when it comes to those types of things. But she seems to really genuinely have this very wonderful heart, and, I struggled with alcohol for decades, and, there was never a instant where, having my children taken away from me was an issue, but it could have been. And how differently would my life had turned out if that were the case? So, you just have to wonder how much it is about this perception of who she is as a mom based on the way she looks versus just really kind of getting to know her as a person, because she seems awfully sweet.
She's awfully sweet. She's very sweet. She's smart. She's kind. She shows up to her court dates. She goes to those supervised visits. I mean, you are a parent. I mean, I'm a step parent. You're a parent. Could you imagine seeing your kids every other week in a room for 4 years and knowing that 2 of the fathers got 2 of them back.
Wow. Yeah. No,
And-
I couldn't.
Right? No, she wasn't allowed to talk to them between visits.
Yeah. It's
That's a little harsh.
yeah. And you got to question, what is in the best interest of the children, and is it keeping them away from their mom? I don't know. I really don't think so.
Well,
there are instances which we know that are very severe, that yes, these children don't need to be in an unsafe environment, but
sure.
she's not that's not the environment that we're seeing.
Right. And she did, they were taken away because of her suicide attempt. And then her alcoholism got worse, but she had a psych eval, and the psych eval said that her chances for trying, suicide, another attempt, were like on par with quote unquote normal people walking around, right? So and she has her son every other weekend without incident. And she's sober. So, I asked someone, I think it was her lawyer, and I said, I feel like I'm missing something with this story. Like, what is she not doing? And she's like, they just don't like her. They just don't like her. And I could see that. And I'm not, this part isn't in the film. Not that she wouldn't talk about it. It was like an incident she had, and I'm not saying her name. She had a social worker who would come in, and Christine, she draws, she has skulls, and she's got those kind of decorations around her house. And her social worker came in to do a home visit. Why? I don't know. There was no kids there. I don't know what she was why she would have to do a home visit, but whatever. And she had a little skull. And the social worker was like, oh my God, is that real? Where did you get that? And she's like, Michael's? Yeah, I have a real skull on my TV. Like, what?
That's sad.
Yeah. And I think, I think people often, not always, will look at someone with tattoos and piercings and dreadlocks and think they know who they are. And you don't.
No, you don't.
You don't.
The next clip you are going to share with us is about a women's group at a place called Everyday Miracles. And talk about this group. How did you find this group and these women to participate in this?
Well, this is interesting. I found the group because, I was following Christine, and in my head, I wanted to follow a group of women. So I found Christine, and then I had an appointment with one of the directors of Everyday Miracles, Michael. I'm going to mispronounce his last name, so I'm just going to say Michael. And he forgot. So I just was waiting, and I started talking to Bridget, who is, the woman that you see, who also works there and runs the meetings, the community activist. And her and I just started talking. And so I just sat in on a meeting and just listened. And I thought, this is so great that women have, I know AA has women only, but that there's this community space where women go and talk about the stuff they struggle with and how they stay sober and what keeps them sober. And, sometimes meetings work for some people and sometimes meetings don't. And what I liked about Everyday Miracles is it's all pathways, right? So there are different camps of people. And so some say if you are on Suboxone, you are not sober, right? If you're on methadone, you're not sober. Some people will say that. Some people will say, if that is keeping you from doing heroin, then that's fine. Some people are recovering from heroin, but they still have a drink and it doesn't interfere. It's like, what I like about them is they support all pathways. And so listening to these women a lot of them had the same story as Christine, childhood trauma. And I just started thinking, like, how can I intercut them?
Yeah.
And I asked them if I could film their meetings, and they did. They said, yeah, which was, such a gift to me, because people really identify with those women, and they're brave in telling their stories. I know that's an overplayed statement, like, that's so brave, but they really are. I mean, they're in an anonymous group trying to stay sober.
How many tries did you have to attempt to be able to have that spiritual awakening that these things are factors and that you need to make a change and start up here?
I was told that you will not see grandchildren if you
When
don't
they come.
straighten out. Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah. Well, my bags were packed, all the bottles were laid out on the table when I got home from work, and I thought the bottles were hidden, but there were like 50 of them. 50. And they were all on the table, and the kids were all home from college, and that was it. Yeah. Wow. I knew I had to find a way. Right. I just didn't know how.
The last clip that you're going to share with us from Recovery City is about a young woman, I should say, Blanca. And she's kind of getting through a pretty amazing milestone, which a lot of us kind of take for granted. So let's set up this clip a little bit and tell us, a little bit about Blanca, and then we're going to see what she's about to do.
So Janice and Rebecca, I call them the dynamic duo because they are. Janice is an officer in Worcester, and Rebecca is in recovery, and she has her own nonprofit, and they work together, and they go into areas that need it and offer people, recovery, whether they want to talk, whether they need a cab to court, whether they need a backpack full of mittens and whatever. And sometimes what they do is, if people want to get into like a detox, you need an ID. And Blanca had been a young woman they've been working with, and she didn't have an ID. So we walked right into the DMV and got her ID in the hopes that we would go back again and then take her to detox.
Hopefully she made it.
Yeah.
We've been trying to get this girl for the longest time. Last time I sent her, she went, and then we lost her. So I don't want to lose her.
Yeah, no. I don't think she has a phone.
I need a phone number for the check.
So, 6440. 640. Yeah. I'm Rebecca. I'm the owner of that. Your new wardrobe. We're gonna do this. We're gonna do that.
I got my ID.
Yay! Good job. Beautiful. Awesome.
And she gave me the receipt.
You know what? If you're comfortable, I would like to take a picture, so that way, if you ever lost it in trying to get into Washburn, they will take a picture of
And since it's
this.
going to a different address.
Thank you.
So Janice's number and my number. Tomorrow.
So you'll be there at 11, so that's what we'll plan on, okay?
And all we can do is keep trying, Blanca. That's it. I checked in 150 times. So
imagine
the
that.
151st time could be that time. So just keep trying.
She did 150.
Huh?
Look forward to it.
Me too.
Seeing you tomorrow. You might not recognize me tomorrow.
Ah, Janet.
I'm gonna be in my civilian clothes, okay?
Ah, Janet.
Yeah.
That beautiful face.
See ya. Okay, take care. Take care.
God bless you.
No, God bless
We'll see
you.
tomorrow.
I'm proud of you. I'm so proud of you. You made the step. This was the first step. See?
Yes.
Yes, awesome.
And she was so incredibly proud in that moment.
Yeah, so proud.
That was a great clip. You do a great job. Speaking of empowering women, you do a great job of bringing to life women's stories in a way that really does show the power of women in all of their obstacles, in all of their trauma, in all of their lives. It really resonates with your style as a filmmaker, that you really do empower these women in their stories that can help other women. And so I wonder, is that going to continue to be your focus? Is that, one of the things that you're passionate about, women's stories?
Well, yes, I am passionate about women's stories. But that wasn't a goal of mine. Like, I have to tell stories about women. It just sort of shook out like that. But I think it's important. And I think what I hoped with Blindsided, and like I said at the beginning, I did not set out to make a film about domestic abuse. And back then when that came out, nobody was talking about same-sex domestic abuse, right? So but then once it got rolling and it aired and went into a couple of festivals, I thought, if a woman who can't see and hear and can't drive herself away from a situation, if she can start her life over, that might inspire somebody who has a few more resources to maybe take the leap herself.
Absolutely.
Right? And then with this film, I mean, let's face it, getting sober is hard. If it wasn't, nobody would struggle, right? It would be like, that would be it.
No addiction.
There'd be no addiction. But people do, and we, thank God, we're starting to hear about it more. It's not like some dirty little secret anymore. And people can talk about it and talk about their struggles. And hopefully when people see this, they can find something that resonates with them to keep them going to stay sober. Because you have to want it for yourself. I mean, everybody knows that.
I was hints were being dropped on me for years, and I really had to come to a moment where I said, do I want this life or do I want something better? And now that I've had the better, there's no way I'll ever go back to that. But it takes time, and it takes it's excruciating becoming sober, and I can say that. I mean, just detoxing alone is like, there were moments, hours, days when I said, is this even worth it? This pain that my body is going through.
That's what I've heard too.
Yeah. And if you can push that through that, then you have a fighting chance. But and that's what, I love about what you're doing with this film, is because it's not just one face. It's not just one community. It's not just one type of woman.
Right.
It really is, as you said, just really kind of talking about this on things that we don't talk about when it comes to women. We don't typically talk about addiction when it comes to women. It's just, we just haven't. And then when you add in mothers and wives and all this other stuff, it really is extraordinary. I can't wait to see the final product.
Oh, thank you. And recovery's, and I hope I don't sound like I'm slighting men, because I'm not, but recovery is different for men in that women are typically the ones who have the children and have to find the housing and the care and the aftercare and the babysitters. Look, men can leave and get sober and go do that. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Without everything else. I mean, some of the stories I've heard that aren't in the film, just, when you start researching, there were women in Worcester who I had heard about, and not known, but heard about, just doing research, who had their kids taken away. So they're in Worcester, and they would put the kids in foster care in Lowell. Like, so a woman who can't drive, who doesn't drive, for maybe she lost her license, maybe she never got a license because she lived in Worcester, like, who knows? How is she supposed to get, from there to there, taking like, 3 trains and then paying for it?
If you can even do that, we have the worst public transportation system here in Massachusetts, but yeah,
right?
I know exactly what you're saying.
And that's a whole day. And then what if you have to work? So you're going to call in sick once a week to do that? Yeah. Well, then you don't have a job, but then you don't see your kids. And it's like, oh, don't you want your kids? It's like with women, sometimes it's like, it's this or that.
Absolutely.
So
we know you're still completing this film. What's next on your agenda? What do you have?
Well,
coming
I don't know, but I hope it's not another 5-year gap, but something. I don't know what it will be. I have to just find something that like I sort of just get into, you know, whether it just gets me interested and I start researching it, but right now, nothing.
Well, you and I are going to talk.
But besides your film, yeah.
The Power Play typically ends with asking our guests 3 questions. First, who are your filmmaking role models?
Oh boy, my filmmaking role models? Okay, well, I love the Maisel brothers. I mean, I love Grey Gardens. You know why I love Grey Gardens? Because Grey Gardens shows how you can make a film without like formal interviews, voiceover. It's just letting it play out. And I love that. That's a style that I really like.
What advice would you give to aspiring filmmakers?
Make your film. Right? Like buy your equipment, make your film. And just keep making your film. It's just like sometimes you can overthink something. Like I just have to do this, I just have to get this. Just like get a camera and really good audio equipment. And just jump in.
Yeah. That's good. That's good. Finish the sentence for me. I'm an empowering woman because women have empowered me. And I also want to add, which we talked about earlier, I would love to get to a place where there's not like Women's History Month or Black History Month. Like I want that to just be the norm of life, right? Where we don't have to, where everyone is so equal that we don't have to like highlight them for a month to see how awesome they are. Right. No, I'm with you. No more female filmmakers, just filmmakers.
Just filmmakers, right? Like, yes, I am a female with a camera, and that's all right.
Lisa Olivieri, thank you so much for being our guest today.
Thank you, my friend.
Tell folks how they can watch Blindsided.
It's on my website, lisaolivieri.com. My email is there, and we can go from there. Awesome.
Well, thank you. I am so proud of you. And
thank you. Thank you.
I can't wait to work with you. So
I know. I can't wait to work with you either. I'm so glad we reconnected. This is awesome.
Remember, you can listen to past episodes of the PowerPLAY Show wherever you subscribe to podcasts, including iTunes, iHeartRadio, and now Pandora Podcasts. You can also watch our interviews on YouTube. Simply search the Hull Bay Productions Media channel. And be sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode. And as always, we air on BroncoEyeRadio.com each Saturday at 5 p.m. So be sure to tune in to the PowerPLAY Show on Thursdays for a new episode wherever you subscribe to podcasts, or on YouTube at Hull Bay Productions Media channel, or simply visit thepowerplayshow.com. As I'm doing all month, I want to take this time to highlight a woman who inspires me in my life. Ava Marie Duvernay is an American filmmaker. She won the Directing Award in the U.S. Dramatic Competition at the 2012 Sundance Film Festival for her second feature film, Middle of Nowhere, becoming the first Black woman to win the award. For her work on the movie Selma in 2014, Duvernay became the first Black woman to be nominated for a Golden Globe Award for Best Director, and also the first Black female director to have her film nominated for the Academy Award for Best Picture. Then in 2017, she was nominated for the Academy Award for Best Documentary Feature for her film 13th. But it was her incredible work in 2019 where she created, co-wrote, produced, and directed the Netflix drama limited series When They See Us, based on the 1989 Central Park jogger case, which has earned critical acclaim. The series was nominated for 16 Emmy Awards, including the Primetime Emmy Award for Outstanding Limited Series, and won the Critics' Choice Award for Best Limited Series. Ms. Duvernay has become a storyteller of exceptional skill, mastering the art of allowing actors to freely bring her characters to life. Thank you for being an inspiration to me and fellow female filmmakers all around the world, including my guest today, Lisa Olivieri. Until next time, I'm Tonya McGrath. Put on a mask, stay safe, and protect each other.